Yes. In
sorry.
Yes, thank you. In Belgium and in Belgium, we have Ruth Owino, Association of the Kenya Diaspora in Belgium and Luxembourg, AKDBL, which is for both Belgium actually and Luxembourg. We have in Austria, Hungary, and Slovenia, we have Miss Grace Odhiambo, the chairperson of KEMA, Kenya Moja Kulttuurverein Association. That is a fantastic language. In Finland, we have Joseph Obima of Kefiso, Kenya Finnish Society. In Netherlands, we have Chris Ochieng, Kenya Diaspora Association in Netherlands, KDAN. In Germany, we have Mr. Simon Kirui, KDAG, Kenya Diaspora Alliance, Germany. In Italy, we have Rolex Onyango, Kenya Diaspora in Italy, Kedita. In Switzerland, we have Lulu Juma, Pamoja Kwa Umoja. In Greece, we have Charles Karuri Kingori, KCG, Kenya Community in Greece. In Sweden, we have Moses Waihenya, Kisiwa, Kenyans in Skane Welfare Association. In Iceland, we have Acheng Achola, wa Kenya Islandia. And finally, we have myself, Lois Mativo, in France, the chair of Kifua, Kenyans in France Umbrella Association. So that's just a list of all the countries represented, the names of the presidents and the names of the association. Karibuni sana, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Mukami, if you're in, if you can please, any moment that His Excellency Ambassador Bitange comes in, if you can notify us so that we can give him our guest today. Our guest of honor is Professor Bitange, who is ever ready to support the diaspora. We love him so much, and he's a person who is thinks on his feet, I always say, and we like to have the embassy at least because when we are here in the diaspora, the embassies are responsible for us. So we like to have their support and we like to involve them when we can. And Professor Bitange, in this very...
Auntie Selena.
In this very... If you can mute, please. In this busy time, was available. So, but he's very busy in some meeting. So he will just pop in to say hi. So I hope...
yes, he'll pop in a few minutes, in 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, darling. Just let us know when he pops in. And then Lois will introduce him and then we will go on. So after that, I will ask, we will start and wherever Bitange comes and gets at, we will start. We have a packed program. And I'm going to let my co-host, Anthony, introduce our first speaker.
Hello, everyone. It's good that you are here, and we are honored to have you here in our presence today. And today is a great day that we gather here for mental health awareness. Now, we have a great speaker who is coming here next. She's all the way in Amsterdam, and her name, as you can see there, she's going to be present here. She's called Stella, and she's going to introduce herself more. But in brief, she is a former social worker and currently a business consultant, business travel consultant at VCK Travel in Amsterdam. I don't want to take much time because I know she has a lot to say, just to set this ball rolling. And she's a wonderful woman. She's making waves on the ground wherever she is. But then welcome, Stella, and tell us a bit more about yourself and dive us into the topic for today.
Asante, Anthony. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. We really appreciate your presence as well for participating in this webinar, because we're about to dive into topics we normally don't discuss about. We are heading into the festive season. So let's use the chat for feedback, because I really appreciate a lot of feedback. We all know that it's the season. Munaanza kupata tu message. What are your plans for Christmas? Sikukuu umejipanga aje? How many have gotten those ones already from home? Yeah. And you normally, I think most of you know what the next question is thereafter. Can you please write in the chat after you ask what your plans are for Christmas from home? Please write in the chat, what is normally the next question after you say, oh, I don't have any plans, because they have no idea that you're about to go into, into a routine shift. As an example, not everyone does, but yeah. So that's number one. Number two, what we're trying to do right now is during our meetings, we decided to first raise awareness in terms of mental health, targeting the festive season. You know, I think you all know this one about how we always post beautiful photos of ourselves in front of the Christmas tree. And people back home have no clue what you even did to put that Christmas tree there. They have no idea what is the backbone behind it. They have no idea how you sweated, even if it's just a Christmas tree. And you probably sent money back home for them to buy the ambuzi, but you know yourself, you're not going to eat the ambuzi yourself, but you send money back home. So I also would like feedback as to how that feels. More, they're busy celebrating back home. You've sent money for them to enjoy the ambuzi back home, but what have you done with your own Christmas? And especially in Europe, you normally have either the first day of Christmas, the 25th, as an off day, or the 26th. Thereafter, you start running again. So now next to the next point. Given that I'm a business travel consultant, I work with airlines, and there's always something that's triggered me. When you're traveling, I mean, we're all in Europe. That means we came with a plane, right? And there's always been this flight attendant that normally stands in front of you, waving her fingers like this, right? Does everyone relate? And then she puts on this thing, and then most of us ignore her. But you know what always intrigues me is when that flight attendant talks about the oxygen mask. I think most of you know when they talk about the oxygen mask, they normally say, even if you have kids, put on the oxygen mask yourself first before you even put it on your kids. Why? You have to be stable enough to help the next person. Right? So that is what we normally forget. So back to the Christmas spirit, because we're too busy running around and caring for everyone else, because that is how we were brought up. That is the foundation of how we were brought up. We forget ourselves. The best thing we can do is send a nice photo of ourselves during Christmas, wearing a nice Christmas dress in front of a Christmas tree. But your family back home has no clue. They are busy eating goat. All you did was take a photo. Does the message hit home? So now the next question is, what are we going to do to change this? And by the way, clause does not mean that everyone goes through this, but we're quite, maybe 85%. And now I want some feedback. So
Somebody wrote very true.
So the message to take home. What are we going to do to change that? Please keep the flight attendant person, not person, the one. You remember when you got on that plane to come to Europe? Yeah, she said something. Always remember that one. Okay, Dorothy, give me feedback, or someone.
Somebody else.
The person that wrote wow, true. Oh yeah. Oh, Caroline Pau. Please say something, but she's in Istanbul at the moment. That one I know.
Say that again. Say the question again. Repeat the question again. So if you have forgotten again.
Does it hit home? The relation about with the flight attendant that says first put on your mask, the oxygen mask, before, even if you have an infant. First put on your own mask before you start. And you know, okay, like a mother, for example, when you've just given birth and you're flying with your infant, your first instinct will be first put the oxygen mask on your baby and then put it on yourself. But they actually literally instruct you, put the oxygen mask first. And I still remember the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, that's really selfish. No, it makes sense. Because there's no way you're going to be saving people's lives if you're not saving your own first. Sorry? Hello?
Go on, Stella. Please mute in as you come in, please.
Yeah. So back to the question about where I started from. This thing of, by the way, do you have plans for Christmas? Mpango ni gani ya Christmas? Most of us can relate to that question. Most of us, you already know when you get that question. And then you probably have not even heard from this person since Easter. And then Christmas, hi Kuzo, hi sis, hi bro. Mpango ni aje Christmas, unakuja nyumbani. And then the next one is utatuma pesa ya mbuzi, for example. Yet, if you think about it, if you do the mathematics financially and psychologically, maybe ako ka pesa ulituma from Easter, you could have saved it and bought yourself a ticket already to go eat the mbuzi with them. Does it make sense? I'm more mathematical at the same time. No feedback? No, thank you.
Yes, it makes sense, huh? Yes.
Yeah. So, what the target of this whole meeting is to break that stigma, to break that whole idea of it's one thing we support people back home, but let's not forget ourselves where we are in the diaspora. And it's cold, it's dark. You know, some of us only have 4 hours of light until Easter, perhaps, maybe what, March, May. And like you mentioned, Dorothy, the highest season for suicide and stuff is in February. And no one knows. Back home, people normally think January, oh, school fees, what. They're not aware. Even us on this side, we're also sweating. By February, because you've not had enough sunlight, short day. So you leave your house when it's dark, you come back home when it's dark. You drive out to or get into the train when it's dark, and you still come back home when it's dark. And that is normally also why you get cases of domestic violence. I actually have 3 at the moment. Sabina is behind the scenes and she knows what I'm talking about. There's so you have cases that actually develop as we're speaking at the moment during the festive season. And then in February, it becomes realistic. Either suicide, domestic violence, those things happen a lot. Drug addiction as well normally gets triggered around February, March, because people have had enough of no sunlight and, you know, basically depression. And the worst part is no one knows where to run to. You don't even see yourself getting there yet. You don't even know where to seek help. So by this, I will let Eunice take over, because you can dive in more into mental health.
Thank you so much, Stella. And something that is real that we can really talk about that can make this topic more relatable is lack of joy. This is a season of joy. And I think for us who have been at home, you know how simple it was down in the village, in Nyalgunga, in Gechagi, whatever you call your Nyalgunga, and how with basic, even sometimes without electricity, but fun and joy and peace. And now here we are in Europe with everything at the snap of your finger, and you don't have joy. That is something. Don't ignore that. That is something. And so I hope the people who are helping us today are going to help us to know, and to help us only go to breakout rooms to think, how can we restore this joy? How can we make sure that we don't miss this moments of filling in our tank of joy? Because if you miss it now, that's why by February, people are going beyond, you know, suicide. Domestic violence comes from frustration and anger, you know. Lack of joy brings anger, anyway, I'm not a psychologist. We have a psychologist later who will break it down to us. And now we are going to invite Eunice, who is from UK. when I met this lady, I knew this is just the right time, the right person to talk to us today, because she works in the field where the rubber meets the road. This is where she is every day. And we are so looking forward to hear from her, especially from her experiences, which are going to help us I'm trying to to bring her on the screen, which are going to help us.
Wow, shit. Yeah.
Regina, if you can mute. Anyway, so now we're going to have Eunice. Welcome. Eunice, I didn't introduce you purposely because you have such a long resume. I don't know where to start and to begin, but she has done all the studies that is required for her job. But I want her to mention the one that is really relevant for the topic that she's going to talk to us today. Welcome, Eunice.
Thank you very much, Dorothy, for the introduction. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This evening, we are here to create a safe space and to raise awareness of our struggles, our mental health challenges over Christmas time. My name is Eunice. I work in mental health. I am a clinical specialist nurse in mental health. I've worked with mental health for years, but that's beside the point because we are not being clinical here. I think we are just going to talk about what really happens during Christmas time, which is, you know, I'm sure everybody has either experienced this or just about to. As Stella said earlier, during Christmas time, we experience a lot of pressures. Some of them are financial, some of them loneliness, sometimes good and bad memories. Financials, you know that during this time, you have to prepare for Christmas. There's so much that you need to do, Christmas lights, Christmas tree. That's money. Then you come to relatives back home, you come to your own family here. If you have children, that is money. Then after that, you come to loneliness. We've come all the way from home, we are here. Some of us have families, some of us don't have families. We left our families back home. So you'll find some of us are living alone in their houses or in their homes, wherever they are. And that is a time where we know we came to Europe, and Europe is family time. Back home, you used to have people around you. You used to celebrate with people, now you're celebrating alone. That's loneliness. That is going to affect your mental health. When you are lonely, you are idle, you've got nothing else to do. Sometimes you turn to the bottle becomes your friend. And we know what the bottle can do. It will affect your mental health, start having delusions. At the same time, affect your physical health. Then we come to good and bad memories. Some of us, we've lost family along the way. 10 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 month ago. Christmas time is usually the worst time of the year, as much as it's the best time of the year, because when you get to that point, before you used to sit down during your meals, or if you are over here and your parents were back home, you used to pick that call. You call your mom, you call your sister, you call your brother, whoever it is, your friend, and then get on with your day. But because that person is no longer here with us on earth, on that day, you have that memory of, you know what, I would have called so-and-so, but this person is not there. Though all those memories come back. And as a result, you'll find most people will actually suffer with depression. You find people are just withdrawn. So now, how do we cope with this? Coping strategies. And this is not across the board. You can choose what you can that would help you. Would say maybe when it comes to finances, be real. Be able to articulate that, you know what, I don't have money. I wish I would help, but at the moment I have other issues, so I can't help you this time. Don't feel compelled to give out money just because you are trying to keep up with the status quo, because we are in Europe and everybody's looking up. You know, you're in Europe, you have money. They've put you at a certain place where now you're feeling really embarrassed to tell them that you don't have money. No, be real with yourself. Then another thing is plan your finances in advance. After all, Christmas comes every year. Because Christmas comes every year, if you really know that you have family home or friends that you must give money to, plan yourself. Then stay away from social media. If you know that Eunice will be sending you a message asking you for money, sometimes you don't have to go on WhatsApp all the time, Facebook, Messenger, and all that kind of thing, because you know what you're going to find there. But having said that, at the same time, maybe you need to have things like Netflix just to watch and kill the loneliness. So those are some of the things. Then now we get to a point where sometimes you find that this moment has really caught you. And now we've hit a certain place where things are not looking good. You're very anxious. You're not sleeping because there's a lot of pressure. Can you send us some money? You start asking yourself, where do I get money from? You know, all those questions, all those pressures will take you at a certain place where sometimes you're anxious, you are stressed out, maybe even depressed, lack of sleep. All that is mental health. So what do we do then? When we get to that point, try all the coping skills we've given. But if it gets to a point where no, it's just not working, seek help out there. When I say seek help, it depends with whichever country you are in. Go to a specialist. If it's GP, go to GP, go to hospital, wherever you can get your help from. However, having said that, we all know that our people have a problem with seeking help. The reason why I say that is because this is my bread and butter. I've been working in this sector for some time, and I've found myself sometimes dealing with people who are struggling with their mental health at an earlier stage where they come through for assessments and all that. So you see people coming through assessments and then a plan is put in place. Therefore, it means that they will stabilize at some point and that will stop them, or rather, you know, there's a management plan in place where you stop people from going to hospital. But during that process, during that journey, I've realized that most people that I see, it is very difficult for you to see our people. I'm not going to narrow it to Kenyans. I will say Africans or Black people. During those assessments, I can tell you I've done so many, and maybe I can count how many I've seen with one hand, maybe 5 or less than that. Then the reason is why. If you go to inpatients, you go into the units, the majority of people you see there, our own people, Black people, Africans, we are so many of us down there. So the question is, what happens in between? How comes during the first, the beginning of the journey, we don't have our own people? How do they then go through from this journey, from the beginning to the end? Instead of starting from the starting line, you find them at the end of the line. Why? It could have been prevented. But we just can't seek help. We wait until things spiral out of hand. And then sometimes you end up being sectioned and being put into hospital. That would have been avoided. And, you know, the truth is we all know it's because of stigma. Stigma has kept us away from seeking help. Look at our language, you know. In Kiswahili, we call someone with mental health mwenda wazimu. You go to Central, Mugoroki. You go to Western Province, Mraru. You go to Nyanza, Janeko. If you listen to those names, they're so demeaning, the way they come out. And as a result, nobody actually wants to associate themselves with mental health. If you have mental health, you just keep quiet, because I don't want anybody to know that I'm struggling with mental health. And the reason is stigma, because you know what will come out of it. If you have mental health in your family back home, you'll find that nobody actually wants to associate themselves with your family. You're isolated because someone in your family suffers with mental health. If you have mental health, and that will be back home or here, you'll find that
Sorry, unmute yourself, please, Eunice.
okay, sorry.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was muting somebody else.
Okay. How far was I? You're muted.
Stigma.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yes. So I would say back home, if your family, if you have someone with mental health in your family back home, you'll find that sometimes you're so isolated, nobody even comes to your home. The reason being the way people look at it, the myth that goes with it, you know, our culture, religion. You know, sometimes you'll find people talking about someone who has mental health, or it's because of something you did. This person did something wrong, and as a result, they are being punished. Or rather, the family is wicked, or even they bring in witchcraft. So there are so many bad things, and all these things are actually just myth. And as a result, you find that nobody wants to get involved with this because you don't want anyone to know. You do not want to be labeled. Look at job opportunities back home in Europe. You'll find that people with mental health, it's really difficult for them to get a job because they are perceived as aggressive people. They're dangerous. And in reality, they're not. If you are depressed, are you actually dangerous just because you're depressed? Then come to relationships. You'll find that it's really hard for someone to be in a relationship because you've already been labeled. So as a result of that, you find that things are getting out of hand, things are spiraling. So sometimes you come from position one where, okay, maybe you're not sleeping, you are stressed out, you are depressed, and then things are looking up. But because of the stigma, nobody wants to talk to you. You know, you're isolated, you're lonely. You just keep, it's just a vicious circle. You just keep going round and round. You get better, you go back. You get better, you go back. It's because of lack of support. And that will be lack of support from yourself and from those around you. Because stigma also, you know, we also stigmatize ourselves. Once you've been discriminated upon, you actually believe that I'm worthless, I'm useless, I cannot do anything, I cannot achieve anything, I'm finished. So you don't even try. And because of not trying, you end up with low self-esteem. Therefore, you're not able to even do anything or even achieve anything. And it's just because of that mindset that has been put there. Then you find that your own family, sometimes they feel ashamed, or we have someone with mental health, you know, they're isolated. Sometimes they're not even able to seek help for you. You find that some people are actually locking their loved ones in their homes, maybe in a room, just because they're ashamed. Now the question is, if you have a headache or you cut yourself, what do? You go to hospital. So then why is it that if you are having mental health, you cannot seek help? You can actually not seek help for your relative because they are struggling with mental health. Why are we ashamed of mental health? Why do we stigmatize this? So we want to bring this to you so that we can be able to seek help, because as we said, Christmas time is one of that time where there's a lot of pressures. And by the time we come to January, February, there we end up with suicides. People are committing suicide. This would have been prevented. So that's why we want to talk about this. We want to educate our own people. When you are talking to someone with mental health, please be compassionate. It's just an illness like any other illness. Use words that can be used that are respectable. Stop demeaning other people. Respect one another. Be compassionate. We need to start maybe educating our societies. We have to, if possible, maybe children need to, especially in Africa, back home in Kenya, if it was possible, it would be really good for this to be, mental health to actually be taught in schools, children to be told that mental health is just another illness like any other illness. If you are struggling with mental health, you are depressed, you are anxious, I believe everybody on this platform at one point has struggled with mental health, because you're not going to tell me there's no single night that you've not slept. At least there's a night where you've not slept the whole night. You toss around the bed until morning. You don't just toss in bed for the sake of tossing in bed. You toss in bed because sometimes, you are deep in thought. You're having some financial difficulties. You are having maybe physical health difficulties. If you are sick, physically, chances are you'll end up depressed, especially if it's a diagnosis that you've been told is a serious one. You'll end up being depressed. So at some point, all of us have struggled with mental health. It just depends on the degree. So as a result, can we be able to support each other? Can we accept that this is a normal illness, just like any other illness? For those who have been through the journey and have survived, or those who are going through the journey, it will be nice if we got to a point where we can come out of our closets and speak about it. Let people know that, you know what, at some point I was really depressed. I didn't even know what I was going to do, but somehow I managed to get out of it. Or sometimes now and again, I get depressed, or I struggle with my mental health. Because when you talk about it, other people realize that, you know what, it is normal. It is normal. It is okay not to be okay. So we need to talk about this maybe through, we should have workshops, talk about it, do Zooms the way we are doing now. Just make sure that we can be able to reach out to so many people. We have to reach out to so many people. But this Christmas, please stay safe. At the same time, try and find a safe space for yourself. And find a safe space for your neighbor, your relatives. Reach out. If you know that someone lives by themselves, or someone just went through a bereavement recently, reach out, find out how are they doing. Because with mental health, sometimes just talking can help. Talk to people. The more you keep quiet, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until it explodes. So that's all I have to say for now. I wish you all Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Eunice. What a powerful presentation. There's somebody, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll give you opportunity if you have a question for Eunice. There's a question on the chat. It's saying, Eunice, I love you I love you say, I think she meant I love what you say. But how do we make our people accept that these mental issues happen to almost everyone, and that to break its power is to acknowledge that it is present in our daily lives? How do we create acceptance?
Okay, how do we create acceptance? Start by explaining that you have to start from the basics. Everybody has suffered mental health at some point in their life. Mental health is not a big thing the way everybody thinks it is. Just not being able to sleep. Believe me, if you don't sleep for the next 1 week, if you go for the next 1 week without sleeping, sometimes you'll end up with delusions, even paranoid. So many things will happen. Yeah. So just talk to people, tell them that mental health is a disease like any other disease. Tell them that just not sleeping, just thinking about something for a prolonged period of time can actually be mental health. So start by explaining and tell people that, you know what, everybody has been through this journey. At some point you'll be through this journey, but accept it. It's not a curse. It is not because you did something so wrong, because, you know, just the stigma of thinking that you've done something wrong. Maybe, you know, back home, I remember sometimes they used to say, oh, if you hear a family has someone who suffers with mental health, they'll come up with myths like they killed someone and the person they killed has come back to haunt them. That is why someone is struggling with mental health. Tell people, no, people need to be educated. People need to be educated. It is obviously going to be difficult to make them change their mindset, but it's just something that we have to keep talking about. We have to keep going on and on and on. It might take 10 or 20 years or 30 years to come, but people will understand, because look at Europe and look at here, how people with mental health are treated and looked after, and back home. Our brothers and sisters back home who suffer with mental health, especially those who come from poor backgrounds, you'll see them just walking on the streets. Some are homeless, but like in England here, most people are well taken care of. So let's say back home, look at hospitals as well. How hospitals are funded. How many mental health units do we have in Kenya? I don't know how many we have, but I've not heard of many. So the moment that everybody accepts that it is an illness like any, and let us create space, let us create hospitals where we can treat our own people who are suffering with mental health, maybe that will make people's mindset change.
Yeah. May I add on to a few things from what Eunice said?
Absolutely, absolutely. One moment, let me bring you up, please. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to, Caroline, the one responding, we've actually done a lot of mental health activities together behind the scenes. We have done one event about mental health awareness from her own initiative. So I really can relate to her question about how do we create the acceptance, because what we've been trying to do from the Netherlands is to create the awareness. And I believe we're still working on it, and we'll get there. About creating, how do we create acceptance is more, the more we expose, like what Uni said, the more we get out of the closet, the more we create the awareness. And the more we create the awareness, the more we create the acceptance. That's how I see it. And I think also, let's not underestimate the people back home. There are enough institutions that deal with mental health, only because it is like a taboo-ish, I don't know how to put it. People are not aware. In Dutch, I would say the sociale kaart. In Kenya, it's also there. There's enough places that deal with mental health issues. But since, like Eunice mentioned, people see it more of maybe it's a curse, maybe I don't, you know, it's we're like lost in translation between tradition and the chemicals in your brain. So people easily look for the solution of maybe it is something within the family, it is a curse or something. But if you really look at it from the medical perspective, there's enough institutions in Kenya as well. I've seen them myself. I've been to a few. They're there. But I think the issue is not even that. The issue is not the facilities. The issue is ourselves, the acceptance that there's actually a mental health issue. So what do we do about it? That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stella, for stepping in. I would like to just summarize the powerful presentation of Eunice, the highlights that I got, and that really got into me and reminded me a book I read, which is called Emotionally Free. A certain doctor in Canada, a medical doctor, realized that I think he had said 75% of his patients, the diseases were emotionally, mentally related. It had nothing to do with the physical issues that they were complaining about. And that comes to what Eunice is saying. So if we don't start taking care of our emotional issues, then we end up in the hospital and even end up being hospitalized. And I found that a very good highlight, Eunice, reminding us immediately, you know, it is not okay. I think we remove the stigma. If you ask me, how are you, Dorothy, today? And I say, I'm not feeling well. I don't even feel like going outside. And this is, for us, I don't want even to think about Kenya because the challenges we have here are much bigger than in Kenya, much bigger. And that's why we are saying everybody in this room, Zoom meeting today has had a mental health issue. We can categorically, 100% with confidence say that, because coming just to change the environment and coming to Europe or whatever situation you are in outside of your home country is a challenge mentally and emotionally. And sometimes you do go through mental health issues. And then she said that Christmas is a more time of trigger because there's so many pressures. And I really liked, and I saw even the participants really appreciating what you were talking about, the pressures from finances at home. The pressure, not just finances at home, but even here. I went to buy a Christmas tree today. I had to go deep down in my pocket, and I don't yet have I've not yet done the buying for the baking and all that is expected here in Europe. And yet at home, then I need to. So all this pressure is that's why it is a kind of like a month. We have to be more careful and put a mask, like Stella said, on ourselves before we put a mask on our children. The other thing I like what you said, Eunice, is about the stigma around it. I really liked how you described. It really brings it home. Even the names we call mental health challenges. I was in depression for 5 years, and I think most of you who know me, I've talked about it. I've written a book about it. It was quite something because why? For those 5 years, I didn't have any idea I was in depression. And that's what happens to us, you know? I had no idea. How can you go for 5 years in depression, working and functionally working and really succeeding at work, but you're depressed? And that's where you see any disease when it is not, I like what Eunice was saying, because she said, if you don't take care of it, you find yourself hospitalized. Any disease, if you don't take care of it, it doesn't stop. It goes on and on and on. And at a certain moment, I knew if I don't go for help, I'm done. But it was too late. It was 5 years too late. In the first year already, if we are a culture that embraces this thing, if there were seminars like this, we have come a long way because of Corona. We can have these seminars about mental health awareness. When I came to Europe in 2004, there wasn't such a thing. You know, there wasn't even a book written by an African like me that I could read, that I could relate to, you know. But now there is more information, more practitioners, more people who really are feeling they need to help our society. So there is, at this time, there is actually no excuse for why, if you are not okay, why you should not reach out. Here in Europe, this is not at home. We are not going to call you a mad person because all of us have gone through it. But you have to take the courage. I had to take the courage and come out of the fear of being stigmatized. And actually, I got strength from admitting that I was depressed for 5 years. It was more a strength to help other people than a stigma that puts me down. And guess what? I was addicted to social media. Because when you have mental health challenges, there's a tendency to get something to numb that pain, because it's an emotional pain. It's not a physical pain, but it's an emotional pain. And so these things, I'm saying this so that if you have some addiction you're struggling with, it could be stemming from a mental health. Look for help before you end up hospitalized. And my sister, I really like, especially because you come from UK, where there's a very large African community than we have here in Netherlands. I know you exactly what you're saying, how it breaks your heart to go at the end of the chain of treatment, and you find our people are not at the beginning but at the tail end because they don't come for help. Thank you so much. I don't want to belabor. You have all enjoyed her talk like I have, but I wanted to highlight that. But ending with what she said, we purpose to support one another. If you are in this, the 42 of us who are here today, you're not going to leave this and just go like you didn't get it. Please reach out to somebody. See, when you reach out to somebody, it fills your tank, you know? That's one thing you have told us you need to do, reach out to somebody. We know somebody who lost somebody. We know somebody who's going through a hard time. You know, a Kenyan, or even just a neighbor who is in your neighborhood, you met one time in a Kenyan function, whatever, any number. Just reach out. Nowadays with WhatsApp, just say, hi, how are you? Listen, somebody say, how are you? I don't even know who they are. I just wrote to them and told them, I'm not well. It is snowy, it is cold outside, I don't feel like going out. And she was able to share with me, and I don't know the person, but somehow she has my number and she said, how are you, Dorothy? It helps. So let's be open about how we feel. There's nothing, if you're having a down day, you don't feel like going out, it's okay to say, I'm not okay. Thank you so much, Eunice. I'm going to invite our next co-host, Moses, to introduce our next guest. Thank you so much. But if there's somebody with a burning question still, you can ask. You are welcome to lift up your hand and ask the questions or write your questions in the chat. Okay, Moses.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even going to add up so much because Eunice, Stella, that was wonderful. You hit the message home. So without further ado, due to time, I'll just go straight forward and invite our next guest speaker, who is an expert on psychology, and her name is Jennifer Dante. Jennifer, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Unmute. Oh, no.
In the meantime, you could be asking questions to Eunice and Stella, and we could give them time. I can see by
She's
somebody,
here.
but
She's here.
all right, wonderful.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I am muted,
Yes, we can hear you,
but
Jennifer.
I don't know.
No, you're not muted anymore. We can hear you.
Yes. You can hear me now.
Yes.
So good evening to you all. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening. My computer was just asking me whether I changed my name because of the spelling of my second name. And I hope I'm coming through. Yes, I am. I think I am. So my name is Jennifer Dante, and I am a psychologist. I am in practice. I reside here in Kenya, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. I really appreciate what every other speaker has spoken about. This is a conversation that is needed every other time, but most of all at a season like this. Honestly, during festive season, there's both the highs and the lows. We are happy, we are sad, we have it's almost like a bipolar of sort, one extreme to the other extreme. We are triggered for good, for bad. We get lonely, we get happy. So quite a tiring season. But most of all, I think the most important thing is to learn to take care of ourselves. And I think that's where, that's what I would like to share this evening. Is this in order? Is it the time to share about self-care?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, yeah, I just needed to be sure that I'm in order. So ideally, where does the whole idea of self-care, where does it come from? How comes we talk about taking care of yourself? We ever think we cannot take care of ourselves? You know, we think we are able to take care of ourselves. Ideally, the whole idea of learning to take care of yourself is, it comes from the fact that you need, first of all, to understand yourself, understand your personality, understand your propensities, you know, what triggers you, what do you like, what is your temptation level, what don't you like, those aspects that will make you learn to a certain extent how to describe yourself. If you want to learn how to take care of yourself, then you have to begin by understanding yourself, like your personality. Understand your background. What kind of a family do I come from? What are my belief system? What are my values? And many times we are unable, we don't go to these places, but it's very important for you to know this. In my work as a therapist, it's one thing that I always emphasize when I am seeing you as a client. I want to know whether you know yourself to a certain extent. I want to help you know yourself so that you know what drives you. And so any attempt to help yourself, because even psychotherapy is an attempt to help yourself, should include a level of knowing yourself. What do you believe in? What you believe in, does it work for you? What kind of a person are you? Are you assertive? Are you too assertive? Are you a go-getter? Are you agreeable? You know what I mean? Well, how do people describe you? That's usually a good beginning of self-care, because that you know, what are we dealing with? What's the hardware here of the person that you're dealing with, and minimal. The next thing you need probably to try to attempt to do, all these are attempts, because you can never know yourself 100%. You attempt to do is to understand others that are significant to you, like family back at home, my mama, my dad, my sibling. And you know, you just need to see how the dynamics between you have been over time. If you can see how you relate to whoever it is that is your next of kin back at home, you look at the highs and the lows of your relationships, you know, you look at the intensities that are there. That part of reflecting that way, you get to have an idea how you perceive them, and maybe how you would describe them, because then that means then if you understand how your siblings relate with you, then by extension, because you are a main player in your life, you will know how to do that dynamic between you and them. So these are siblings, these are parents, these are friends. Quite a lot there. And then from there, you ask yourself, step 3, what are my expectations generally in life? What are my expectations of my siblings, of my friends? Oh, most of all, what are my expectations of myself to myself? What must I be? What are the do's and don'ts? What are the oughts? You know that, like, for example, saying, you know what, I cannot afford not to have ABC. I cannot appear to look in a certain way. I cannot let people know that I can't afford this. You know, the image of the family is very important. I cannot let our family down. What does that mean, even to say not let them down? That is an attempt to understand your expectations, because therein lies some expectations of yourself, of your family, and of your, you know, friendships, depending on how wide you spread in terms of your social network and friendships and the like. I've seen in the course of my work, I mean, I have no money, but I'm still giving money anyway. I never say that I don't have money. And I'm talking about even here in our country, Kenya. I have no money, but mama asked for money and my brother asked for money. And because I have created that continuous dynamic where every time they ask, they receive. You know, like the way the good book says, ask and you shall receive. It seems like we make it happen right away, except we are depleted. They never ever had you say no, and yet it's okay to say no, if indeed it's a no. Think about it. Sometimes it's actually a no. It's not that you're refusing, or it's just the wrong timing. So what I'm looking for here, where I'm going with this example is to say that will say something about you as a person. It will say something about your personality. It will say something about the levels of dependency that you have continuously nurtured and whether they are sustainable. You see, there's a lot of work there to think about. So when you look at all these family dynamics, now you look at your family dynamics and friendships and the expectations they have of you. They say, hey, Stella, you went to Netherlands. You are a person. We can't not have ABC when you're there. And you carry this burden of saying, yeah, imagine, and I'm here, and they have to get it. And the question is, at what cost? So you continue feeding that. So that's an expectation that is both from your end and from their end. And now, why am I highlighting all these things? Because therein, in these 3 steps, is a lot of pressure and stress, both by external factors and by internal factors. And I think internal factors are very clear. How I have always believed, or how you have always believed you should come across. I can never say no to them. Where would they go? Surprise, surprise, surprise. They would still find a place to go if you don't have. Because indeed, I tell people when they really insist on not taking care of themselves, you need to know you cannot save everyone. You're actually not a savior as such. You can only give the help that you are able to give. So herein, in this dance of looking at the expectations, their expectations, they strive, there is stress, and there we start slowly losing each other. And this is where now you get very, very stressed. And once you're very stressed, you go and you start fighting yourself. Depending on your belief system, remember, like if you believe that I should never fail my people, I should always be there for my mom and my dad, and I have no issue with that. But it depends on what levels we are talking about here when we say be there for them. I should always step in for my siblings. And indeed, I am all for it, but to what level? So if that's what you believe, then you are unable to do it. What happens is that you sit down and you beat yourself up. And indeed, we have enough to fight us within ourselves, in your mind, in your heart, and you will judge yourself harsh, and you go down, you get very stressed, you start thinking you're not good enough. There we go, we are on a negative mood now. I'm not good enough. What kind of how many people my age mates are people are doing better than I am doing? There you go. You have an audience in your mind of how other people are doing better. Of course, social media as a way of also giving us this picture that everyone else is doing well. So you will continue pushing on that, and that's how eventually you get very stressed. And stress is usually the first line of defense, of protect ourselves from sinking deeper into mental health, more complicated. If you are able to learn to manage your stresses, if you are able to learn to take care of yourself, then you manage and treat the stress. And that way, most likely, I have here, but most likely, you will catch yourself. Unique.
You're breaking off. You're breaking off, Jennifer. If the network is very low, maybe you can put off the screen, and maybe the quality will be better. You can put off the video.
All right.
Sorry about that.
And now you can hear me?
Yes, we are.
So good. What was last? Where is that you lost me? I was trying to explain that stress management is very critical, and it's usually like the first line of defense to help us not sink deeper into other more complicated mental health issues. We got that right, I suppose.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yes. So that is, and then I was saying that when you are able to catch yourself early enough, then you'll be able to consult in good time, even as you keep yourself connected with other people who are near you, who are your friends. The idea of self-care, let me take us back. I said, it's you actively taking care of your mental health well-being. It is you actively. Why you? Because you know yourself best. And I began by saying you understand yourself. At least seek to do that. It's you actively saying, am I prone to saying yes too much? Or am I prone to saying no too much? Because we can't give a prescription here. You know yourself, then you moderate yourself, ideally. So that's what we are saying. Then when you are able to know yourself, you will be able to seek the necessary help. This necessary help comes from within and without, your social groups, the friends you have, if you belong to a church, a group, whatever kind of group, social groups, you'll be a good neighborhood, a volunteering group, you do work together for social work. I think we are really wired to be together with other people. And I would think even this network, this particular forum we have, is a good place also to begin to. You can keep in touch with each other and say, hey, how are you doing post that talk we did? And that's a good knock on your neighbor's door and say, and you don't necessarily have to have a serious problem for you to reach out to that other person and say, so far, how is it? How is Christmas going? That's also reaching out for a conversation. And if we do that, let me finish by saying, for example, now that we are getting into the Christmas season, it's really good to have a plan. Have a plan of how you want this holiday season to be. Think about, am I going to be alone? Am I okay being alone? If I don't want to be alone, who is that other alone person that I can check out with, that we are good friends with, and we can probably just have lunch together or just do a call together. Have a plan. Oftentimes, if you don't have a plan, you find yourself lonely and feeling very empty, and the day can end up being quite long. Be very deliberate in helping yourself. Do you want to schedule a call of a particular day? Do you want to join your family in Kenya via call? Is that something you would want to do? It really depends on what you want to, what you do go for. Do you want to use this time also as a time to recoup, to rest, to relax, to reflect? Make sure you have a balance of all the things, but not one thing. If you take one end too much, it probably might not work very well for you. And so I think that's about it for self-care, and I'll be open for questions. But I want to remind us that self-care is really your personal responsibility. Self-care is not selfishness, and it's not about I love myself, by the way. It's not that cheap. It's actually a little more complicated because we hardly know ourselves to be able to take care of ourselves. So it's actually a journey to seek to know yourself, and therefore you take care of yourself, and within the balance of those that are close to you, so that we have that equilibrium, that balance. That's very, very important. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Moses. Somebody's saying they can't hear, but that means you've not, they can't hear me anyway. Somebody can write for them. They need to activate their audio. Any question? Jane, you have a question? I see Jane. Any question for her?
Me?
No, we see Jane seems to be unmuted, but she's not asking yet. I can ask one. Like we mentioned, thank you, by the way, Jennifer, for literally you've just given us a formula. But you understand, it's like you're giving us Pythagorean theorem, kind of, like it's a long-term solution. So now for this Christmas, like at the moment, like you said it really well, like right now, if you don't have anything that you're doing for this Christmas, for example, maybe you can like reach out to someone else and go out and, just so you don't like avoid being alone. That's more of it. But then thereafter, is it maybe a thing of, because that is just a one-time solution. I've also been through that phase. And by the time you get home, you still realize, oh no, I'm still on my own. And then here comes January,
Yeah, so the
February.
question.
And then we in Holland, we call it the winter dip. Yeah, I think Dorothy, you know what I mean, right? A few people know what I mean, the winter dip, yeah. Like we really dive into the winter. So you've gone and had your, I must admit, what you say, Jennifer, makes sense. That is major, yeah. And okay, a bit of background. Jennifer has really helped me as well actualize myself to some extent with our conversations. But then like right now, let's just imagine maybe we have someone at the moment that is probably, simple example, I don't want to be extreme, is probably going through a financial crisis. They probably miss home a lot. Probably also going through a divorce. I literally know of someone going through, yeah. And so they'll probably go out for coffee with someone, but they'll still come home to themselves.
Yeah.
And it will take months before the sun starts shining again.
Absolutely, yeah. So my response to that would be this. Anyone who is going through a particular, financial crisis, or a divorce, they are already, even if it's not during Christmas, they're already in a place where they would always need help. They need to work with someone.
Mm-hmm.
That awareness that they need to work with someone. And even if they're working with someone, it is still not easy. The attempt here, when you tell someone to have a plan, the attempt is almost to inoculate. You're almost trying to help the person to prepare for the future.
Yeah.
So if it's Christmas now, and to make it worse, I have financial difficulties because of ABC, and so it has exacerbated the situation. The best you can say to that person is to increase their awareness that it's gonna be tougher, it's gonna be harder. So if there's a way they can help themselves by seeking out help from within and without, because it's not easy. Like the way you are putting it, you're saying you go out with someone and then you still come back home alone. The point is you are learning that indeed I have to work this out. I was only given a break by going out with this person. I have to work this out, but that break was good. I'm demons good by slowly, but going out.
You're breaking off again, Jennifer.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay, and now
you're okay now.
I should be okay now, yeah.
Yes.
So I was saying, you go out, you come back, and then you realize, I'm alone, isn't it, Stella? That's it's a time to say, you know what, I went out, I took a break, which is true. If you continue raising your awareness, this is a hard time for me, but I took a break and I'm back here again. And this is the time that now I will reflect. One of the ways of helping yourself when you have a lot of overthinking is that you can do journaling. If you have things that are overwhelming you, you journal them. You can reflect on the day and then you journal what is bothering you at the moment. Journaling has a way of rearranging your thinking and it can give you a break. It's been known to help people. So as long as you're not journaling the whole day, but you're mixing up with stepping out, getting a call, increasing your awareness and facing the reality that indeed my finances are really bad, but I'm choosing not to give up. I'm not sure how I'll make it 100%, but I have this particular plan. Like being realistic, being very realistic. If you have a lot on your table, the more you're called upon to be realistic, even as you step out, to be helped for a break and come back to face it. It can be lonely. I have actually read a lot about seasonal disorders. They never used to make sense to us, especially back when I was in college. But they make more sense as I now deal and have people who have come from Europe and they'll be talking about how dark it gets until it gets dark to the heart. Someone tells you it really gets dark. And so I have an idea. But it's a time to grow. It's a time that you can say you grow. And of course, we are all different. If you are prone to depression, it's harder. So if someone is prone to depression, for example, it's a high time to work more with their care provider more than before. Be you. Seek that help that you need to seek your help. Learn to know who's got me. Who can I call? I personally have used that, and I'm a therapist. I'm grateful that I have someone I can call. And, you know, the whole idea of like, who is your resource in terms of like even the social resource? Who is that who you can call if you have trouble with the or ABC? I hope that helps us, Stella. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Eunice Mulama, jump right in, your hand is up. I really like, somebody has written in the chat room, one has to focus on what is really important so as not to get overwhelmed. So jump in right, and somebody else has written, in winter take vitamin D. I hope there's nobody here who doesn't take vitamin D. I hope there's nobody. As Africans, anyway, that's a topic for another day, but go and Google out why people with dark skin need to take more vitamin D. You can Google out, you can find information that is, I hope it convinces you that you really need to take vitamin D when there's no sunlight. Go ahead, Eunice.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Stella as well, just, you know, to add up to what Jennifer said. Stella, in the UK, we have something called holistic care. And holistic care, we look at what is the problem. Why are you depressed? If it's finances, obviously, if you are depressed because you have a financial need, if you don't get that financial need sorted, you'll still remain depressed regardless of what happens. That is why we look at holistic care. So if you are depressed because of finances, we want to look at why. What is the problem? How did you get at where you are at now? So we'll have to look at issues to sort out that problem.
But we have the same thing in Holland. We
Yeah,
have the holistic, we always start from the ground, like what triggered. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to respond to that. So, you know, it's because, as you said, you might go out there, come back, and you're still lonely. It's the same way you are living in a house with people. You can live in a house of 5 people and you're still lonely. You're living with your family and you're still lonely. So it's a matter of trying to figure out, why are you lonely? Why are you feeling lonely? What's going on? Because you have people living with you, but you're still lonely. What's happening? So that has to be looked into. That's just what I wanted to add.
Thank you so much. I've just seen Professor Bitange has walked in into this room. Most welcome, Your Excellency. I will ask Lois if you can invite Professor Bitange, Ambassador Professor Bitange, because at this time, after this, we are going into breakout rooms and he is just taking a time just to say hello. We don't want to keep him. We want to release him. He just takes a few minutes to greet us and we are so honored that he's with us.
Yes. Yes, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guest, Professor Mr. Bitange Demo. So it's truly an honor to introduce a distinguished guest who has made significant contributions to the fields of technology, academia, and public service. Professor Elijah Bitange Demo is a global technocrat, currently serving as Kenya's ambassador to the Kingdom of Belgium and the European Union. His multifaceted career spans academia, journalism, and public administration, making him a respected figure in various domains. Professor Ndemo's academic prowess is evident through his part-time role as a professor of entrepreneurship at the University of Nairobi's Business School. His teachings and research focus on entrepreneurship and research methods, particularly exploring the impact of information and communication technology, ICT, within small and medium enterprises and their role in Kenya's economic development. Previously, Professor Ndemo served as the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information and Communication from 2005 to 2013 under the leadership of former Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki. May his soul rest in peace. During his tenure, he played a pivotal role in transforming the Kenyan ICT sector. His initiatives included the installation of undersea submarine cables, the development of the business process outsourcing industry, the reduction in mobile termination rates, the initiation of Kenya Open Data, and the nurturing of tech hubs such as iHub and MLab in Kenya through effective regulation. So in recognition of his outstanding service, Professor Ndemo was awarded the prestigious Presidential Chief of the Burning Spear of Kenya, CBS, in 2006. And this accolade underscores his dedication and impact in shaping Kenya's technological landscape. So yeah, Mr. Botange has studied in the United States, in the United Kingdom, etc. And apart from his academia and governmental roles, Professor Ndemo has also served as the immediate past honorary chair of the Alliance for Affordable Internet and as an advisor of the Better Than Cash Alliance, a global initiative focused on digitizing payments. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please join me in welcoming Professor Elijah Bitange Ndemo, a true visionary and trailblazer in the realms of technology, academia, and public service. We are privileged to have him with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you, sir. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, and I'm very flattered. If you wrote that, can you send it to me? Because I want to, I drop it somewhere where my wife can read it and be able to respect me. But I'm very happy. It's very nice, by the way. Dorothy, you don't agree?
I agree with you totally.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think this is a wonderful initiative that you have to discuss this very key topic, which has impacted so many people. And sometimes people don't even know that it is affecting them. And I think the only way we can be able to succeed in taking care of our friends, ourselves, is by sharing, to be able to understand how such things happen. I have been mentoring a young girl who is based in South Africa. She was preparing an app which helps people or mobilizes people who can volunteer and take care of young ones who are suffering from mental health. That is the little that I know, but what I've known from helping develop that app, which is now going international, is that even us, at some point, we get stressed, or at some point, the world looks like it has come to an end. Recently, I wrote an article. Actually, I was just sharing what I went through when I was a student at the US and Europe here, meaning that there were times you would even question yourself whether you're on the right track or whether what you're doing is correct, or what you should pursue what you're doing. Everybody is born with dreams. Everybody is born hoping to achieve things, and sometimes they are not achievable. So at times when I thought I went to US to study and buy a car that I can't afford in Kenya, and found myself washing dishes instead, or washing toilets instead, I would ask myself whether something was very wrong with me. But then I said it is just a transitional thing. I would overcome this. But the most important thing that I go back to the app that I was helping this young lady develop, is that even though people don't know that they need professional advice or professional help, you can notice if someone is not herself or himself, and in that case, you need to suggest if you are not capable of providing advice or help, to be able to suggest that that person sees a professional, such as a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist, the one who can provide guidance and support based on individual needs. It is easier said than done, and I try to use my own experience to explain such environment. When I was a second-year student, I skipped an exam, and the professor told me that I would not be given a makeup test unless I had a letter from a doctor. So I went to the university clinic and said I had lost my ankle, and I felt very bad. So I was not able to do the exam. The doctor panicked and sent me to a psychologist on campus. And the psychologist was a very smart man. He sat me there and started asking me questions, how I felt about losing an ankle. I had lost an ankle, but it was a distant ankle. And then he started probing, asking questions. Did I feel like I'm going to take my life? Did I feel like... I started getting scared because those questions were very detailed. And I'm just telling you this to know that our mind is so such that there are some questions which it cannot handle very well. And I said from that time, I will not try to fake something unless I have that something, that the feeling that you are feeling bad enough that you need professional services. But generally, it was the best thing I did in my life to see the psychologist who, during interrogation process, was able to bring me to a level where I was in agreement that it was not right for me to lie, that I felt so bad. Maybe the interpretation was wrong, but the point I want you to take from here is that they took it very serious. But if someone called you and said, I'm not feeling good, you probably will brush it off or say something that doesn't lead to proper interrogation so that you can be helped. And I'm saying this such that we can begin to build support systems, which we don't have, which we don't know. We meet as diaspora, but we don't know whom to lean on if something happens. Who can I share my feelings with? Who is the trusted friend or family? Sometimes talking about you are going through, and it can be a significant source of relief. Because once you get relief, like I did, and then I realized that I shouldn't have done what I had done, is what we aspire to get to. But also, there are smaller things that happen, which I've learned from what this young lady is doing, that regular physical activity or physical health is very important, where you take care of yourself nicely, take a walk, take sufficient sleep. I've never managed to sleep the recommended number of hours to sleep. Deprivation of sleep also can lead to serious problems. I know even yourself, you assess yourself, you find you sleep less than 7 hours. I think it's 7 hours, which is recommended. I don't remember when I had a good 7 hours sleep. But when you lose it, it has an impact on your mental health. Physical and mental well-being are closely connected. So if you are not able to get sufficient sleep, you need then to do a lot of physical activity so that you get tired. When you sleep, you can be able to sleep. I hope I'm explaining it because I am getting this from the knowledge I've gained from this young lady. Establish a routine, which is something we've been told from a very long time ago, that if you sleep at 10 and wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, the routine regularizes you such that when you have a structure in your day, you can provide a sense of stability and purpose. So I wanted to raise a few points, maybe one more. There is something which Asians do, and I saw this with this young lady. We don't have what you call relaxation, and how to relax and how to practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Some people do yoga, some people do various exercises. I know it sounds like crazy to recommend such things, but it does help. It does help even once in a while to treat yourself to a massage. Sometimes they massage your head and you feel good, and maybe you forget some of the problems that lead up to mental health. The last thing that I've learned from the app is we normally fail to set realistic goals. When I started talking about my career path and the surprises that I went through, is when I did not see that I was realizing my goals. This is what I want to attain by the time I get here. And if it doesn't work, then it frustrates you. It leads you to begin to thinking. And if you don't have techniques of limiting stressors, what is stressing you, then you have a problem. I am not an expert. I'm just telling you what I gained from a young lady who was developing an app and trying to leverage on the app to link people across the world who can talk to one another as friends and be able to relieve stress so that you stay out of mental health problems. That is the very little that I know on mental health, but I think everybody has gone through a process very close to mental problems, but we don't accept it or we don't agree to share. Sharing actually helps by saying, when you hear people say, I went nuts, I've not slept, I've was not eating well, those frustrations don't take them easily or begin to laugh. Interrogate a little bit, and interrogate, why do you feel, what caused the stress, and what is it that can be done? You would find that you have helped someone whom you didn't think has a mental health problem. So that is the much I can share. I hope it helps you. This is from this young lady, Mafole, from South Africa. I could share the app at some point. You create a network of friends whom you just chat. So thank you for asking me. It challenged me. And I hope I've said something.
Professor, you have no idea. You have, maybe somebody else needs to say, but Your Excellency, you have given us more tools than the psychologists gave us, than the experts gave us. You've given us a practical tool of exercising, good routines, sleeping routines. You've told us to set realistic goals. And what I loved the most, what you have given us, Your Excellency, is that when somebody says, I'm not okay, don't brush it off. I think that's, for me, that is a take home today. Because I recently told somebody I'm not okay, they also did not brush me off. And it made me, we had a big discussion which made me feel better at the end of the day. We were telling people it's okay to say you're not okay, but you have given us the other part of that. Don't brush off. Don't just brush off when somebody says I'm not okay today. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We will allow anybody with a question for the Excellency before we let him go, because he's very busy, or you have to run away right away?
I'll send something.
Yes.
I think you must have seen it trending from Kenya.
Yes.
A lady who was talking to, I think, government employees. You have seen it?
Some people seem to have seen it, but I've not seen it, sir.
You must see it, because I've seen some men try to hide that. The men try not to show emotions, but I think we must begin to be very realistic going forward.
Yes, Fanuel Oyuga is a fan of yours. He has written a whole thing I cannot read about you. He's really your fan. If you can look in the chat, he has written something, but the something he has written that I would like to read aloud. He has said, "Men suffer the most from mental health as compared to our sisters, partners, because we tend to bottle everything up. Yet society expects a lot from us," which I call actually negative masculinity. It's not positive that we expect too much from you people. Sometimes it's too much. So thank you so much for trending that, Fanuel.
I'll send it so that you share.
Yes.
It's trending all over. I don't know how you have not seen it, but I will send it.
Thank you so much, sir. Asante sana.
I wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Lois, maybe you close with a vote of thanks, and then we can let after this, Your Excellency, we are going to go into breakout rooms. We have almost finished our program, and you have really crowned it for us, and we thank you so much. Lois, back to you.
Yes, Professor Bitange, we really appreciate so much the time you've taken to speak to us despite your busy schedule. And I will not summarize what Ms. Dorothy has already summarized. Tunashukuru sana, because you are speaking from experience. It's not just theory. And you've also lived abroad like us. You're still abroad. So tunashukuru sana, all those tips, we have noted them. And the ones we've not really been practicing faithfully, I hope that we shall be able to put them into practice. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. You forgive me. I've just come.
Yes.
I've just come home. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Before we go to the breakout rooms, we are going to have fun in the breakout rooms. All of us are experts. All of us have something to share with each other. We are going to automatically put ourselves into groups. We have 6 facilitators. Before I talk about the groups, there's something that Jennifer had said that I really needed to highlight. Understand yourself. That is so important, that you understand yourself. I wanted to highlight this. Recently, I ambushed girlfriends of mine on a podcast. I do podcasts, and I wanted them to talk about Christmas. How is Christmas? What do you do in Christmas? They had not prepared. They had not, one lives in South Africa, another one in the US, another one in Canada, another one in Kenya, another one in Luxembourg, and me. And all of us ended up, if I can summarize, they ended up saying, this Christmas time, if you want to enjoy, don't focus on yourself. Do something for somebody else. As you do something for somebody else, of course, they're women, they have families, some of us who are single, I don't know how you can do that, but they go out of their way even to invite people who don't have anybody to be with in Christmas. They tell them, come, and it makes their Christmas, you know. But that was such a powerful message for me, that don't focus on yourself. Look at somebody else you can bless. Look at somebody else you can help. We are social beings. As you help another person, you get lifted up also. The other thing that I learned from my girlfriends, one of my girlfriends, and I didn't know that, told me, I hate Christmas. And it is until she was married that she recognized why she hated Christmas. Because when she was 9 years, her parents bought her the gifts she can ever imagine about. As a young girl of 9 years, she received so many gifts. And a week later, the parents told her they're divorcing. So Christmas, always, when she got married to a family where her mother-in-law, her love language was to give gifts. And she was completely getting uncomfortable. And it is at that point that she realized why she hates Christmas, one of the things. And the second time she realized why she hates gifts in Christmas, you know. So this kind of understanding of ourselves, when you're triggered, understand yourself. And I really like that, Jennifer. And that's what we talk about when we talk about mental health awareness. It's being aware of yourself. What triggers you? This lady, until she was married, is when she was recognizing she's been suffering in Christmas time. She hates Christmas time because of what happened to her when she was 9 years old. And nowadays, there's so many instruments you can go to find out about yourself. There are so many free coaches, free instruments you can go through to understand yourself. And especially if you're in Europe, you need to, so that you know what triggers you when it triggers you. We are going to go into breakout rooms. Now, this is where we share. Please feel free to share, because when you share, you bless somebody else. You say something else that somebody else doesn't know. Somebody is asking, what country am I in? I'm in, sorry, yeah, you can write, right? Sorry, Lois.
No, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt. Somebody is saying, that you can read the question before from Fanuel or Yuga.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, or I can read it maybe.
Yeah, please read it for me.
Please share the group's contact details so that we can keep abreast with the latest information about this group. I only came across today's meeting from a Kenyan social media group, which I might not come across again next time you have another meeting. So I'm asking what country they are in so that the chair maybe, yeah.
Yes. We come from different associations that are in one group called KDLFE. And maybe we can share what is his name? Anthony, if you can share our email. Anthony, you can share our social media handles. We can also get there, us there. So we're going to do breakout rooms. They will be automatic. So we are not saying who is going to go with who. It's just going to be, you know how Zoom puts you with anyone. And we are going to have facilitators. Is me, Lois, Madam Lois, and Moses and Stella.
Yeah.
And Anthony. We are going to be the moderators, and our role is just going to be keeping time. We have 3 questions, and every question should take 3 minutes. When you go into your room, choose one person who is going to come back and present. So if we have time, some groups can present. And the questions are, if I can read them. What do you think about stigma in our society? That's question 1. If somebody can write it in the chat, what do you think about stigma in our society? If you have any experiences, what you think about it, is it real or it's just us hyping it? Have you experienced it? Okay, the second question is, what can we do to change our mindset about the stigma, our mindset and our stigma around mental health? The third question is, what is the difference for you between Christmas back home and Christmas in Europe? What is, for you, what is a big difference that will make you find the Christmas here, apart from the weather, of course, the Christmas here much more different than if you were at home. And so from there, then when you know the difference and what you're going to miss, then you can come up, even in the groups, if you have time, you can even come up with ways to mitigate some of the risks of being lonely. Okay, I'll stop talking too much and we will go into the breakout rooms. There are 6 of them. Okay. We're going to be in the breakout rooms for exactly 15 minutes. So every question is going to have 5 minutes. Well, I hope. Okay. If you're a leader and you find yourself in another room with another leader, come out and then I can assign you a room, please. What's going on, Moses?
We found ourselves
Sorry,
in a room where all of us.
we're all in the same, so we cannot moderate.
Okay, so Moses, the problem is I don't know how to put you into. Can you click and see the rooms? And I have
yes,
a very
let me see.
laptop.
Okay, I see that.
You see the rooms?
Okay, yeah, I see the rooms. I see room 1. I'll just see which one doesn't have
Okay,
a
Jane,
moderator and join.
room 1 doesn't have anybody from us, so somebody can go to room 1.
All right, I'll join room 1.
Okay, room 2. Room 2, can somebody else take room 2? Just go to room 2.
Okay.
Anthony, can you see the rooms?
Yes, I can see the rooms.
Yeah, go to room 2.
Okay, let me go to room 2.
Eunice is in room 3, and I'm not able to room 3. Oh, I was to join room 3. Welcome back, and sorry for the mix up in the beginning. I hope you had enough time. Sorry, I didn't give you a warning. I hope nobody will come back. I hope you had a wonderful time.
Yes, we did.
Yes, he was.
We did.
Yes.
Fantastic. And so we, all of us, in order to learn, everybody will get like every group will get like 2 minutes to give the highlights so that all of us can learn also from what you learned. Ours was also very fantastic. So that's why I'm curious to hear about your groups, because I want to learn from all of you. And there's some people who are still in the groups, or they've come out. I closed. Yeah, I think it's closed. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. So, which group will start 2 minutes to give a presentation of what really were the highlights? Among the three, just give us the highlights. What was really a highlight that you think will, from all of us, will benefit from what you discussed and the wealth of experience that you shared? Oh, and one of our group members, Brenda, has left, but we took some notes from her. Maybe she needs to go. Okay. Which group will begin?
Yeah, so I can start, Dorothy,
Okay,
from our group. So I'll summarize what we talked about, and we looked at what do you think about stigma in our society? We realized that the level of stigma is higher back in Kenya than it is over here. However, we can say that the stigma in this country is low because there is help readily available, and people are willing to talk about mental health issues. So there is readily available help, and that is why the level is a bit lower than in Kenya. Then we looked at what can we do to change the mindset. So we talked about making mental health a topic in every conversation. So for example, if you have activities, we usually have summer barbecues, we usually have different activities within our communities. We can put mental health as a nugget to talk about in those activities that we have. Seasonal workshop, pre-arrival, post-arrivals, pre-winter. So this is the people who come from Kenya. Most of them, they don't know what the life, for example, abroad is. Maybe they can have a pack to equip them so that when they arrive, it doesn't catch them by surprise and it's not a shock. And then we can include celebrities, especially those who have overcome mental health challenges, to come and give talks so that they can encourage people to come out and see mental health as a normal conversation. I can see Sally. I think Sally is saying perfect, and I think Sally is the one who came up with this idea of a park. We talked about it some time back. Sally, if she's the one that I'm talking about, so difference between Christmas here and back at home, we found that at home is more vibrant, is more community, the larger community orientated. In this country is more nucleus, set up to more nucleus setup. And so what can we do about it? Maybe adapt the way we do it at home by inviting more people to come and join and have fun. Some people in the group say that loneliness is a culture here, is a lonely culture because of that nucleus family setup where people just want to have the nucleus family and not invite anyone. So those who live on their own, they find themselves doing that repetitively, and they've now taken that as a norm. And so they might not even know that they are lonely, but that is a story that we need now to start changing that narrative by inviting them into our homes. So that's in summary, that's what we talked about in our group, and that's what I could present. Thanks.
Maybe to add, we said that maybe we need to also find the way we can network with each other, like the way the Jews do. The Jews, they look for each other. They live in groups, the Asians, and that's why they thrive in diaspora. And in Kenya, we don't do that yet. So maybe we need to start thinking about creating that kind of culture that as Kenyans, we band together, bandwagon together, and help one another like the Asians do and like the Jews do, because we want to thrive in this diaspora. This is our land of milk and honey. We have to get well mentally so that we get the milk and honey. We are going nowhere. And I shared something about, there's a research that was done in Netherlands about Syrians. Nobody has ever done that research about Africans when they come here. They were studying about the level of mental health issues for the Syrians who came as immigrants when they came in 2015, I think, or whatever, and now. And it was showing that it has gone very high. So they were getting concerned that these people, they are living in our very beautiful country. How come they are still, instead of getting well, they're having more mental problems? I said, yeah, good. Somebody has taken time to research and find out that. That means then they'll start looking for solutions, but nobody takes time to research about Africans. And we have to do that for ourselves.
The research has been done about Kenyan women, to be specific.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I know the one you're talking about. But generally, as a country, looking at the mental health issues of immigrants. Talking about women. That one is, in fact, that one is done specifically, is also a way of, let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Let's not go there. But I'm talking about, we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe as Kenyans, we need to start getting together like the Jews and like the Asians. Let me not take more time. The next group, please.
Okay, I can go next.
Yes, please.
The first question in our group, the first question about the stigma, we think that we suffer from stigma because we lack the awareness. People do not talk about mental health issues. And the way to deal with it is continuous knowledge, having forums like this, educating people on what is mental health awareness, what is mental health issues, because it's such a big jargon and there are so many things involved in mental health. About the difference between Christmas here and Christmas back home. Part of our members liked it here because here it's very simple, and like home where it's very vibrant and there's a lot. And the other part of the team liked that back home, there's a sense of family. I do not know what is happening to the screen. Yeah, but there's a sense of family, and what people consider home is what draws most people either to like Christmas either here or back home. For example, people with children here may prefer the Christmas here, and people with their families back home may prefer the Christmas there. There's something that we were told by Jennifer Dante that I thought was very insightful. And she said, for those of us who have families back home and we miss the Christmases because of the sense of family back home, it is okay to engage with the thoughts that you're having. Those thoughts that you're having that I miss my family, just engage with them. Do not push them away because they come back later to haunt you, if I may use that word. So if you can call your family members during this Christmas period, call them. If you can engage with them, do so, and find a way to just connect with them and to see how they're doing and just live in that moment with your emotions. Yeah, so that is all we had.
Thank you, fantastic. And you pointed out something very beautiful. Okay, the next group. Anybody, sorry, before we go to the next group, anybody from that group who wants to add something? Okay, let's go to the next group.
I can go?
Yes, please, Rose.
Yes, I'm representing group 3. So what do you think about stigma and the mindset towards it? I think they're both intertwined. So I'll try to sum them up together. So in our context as Africans and as Kenyans, we realize that it is not something that is on the open. We don't even want to talk about it. So the stigma is there. And there is a couple of things that would trigger that. First is fear of even sharing what you're going through. So there is stigma already, but there is also the fear from within that I don't want to share this because I don't want to be stigmatized, or I don't want to be, singled out. And how do we go about this? We realized religion is a very key thing back home. And until the church specifically, or the religious, organizations acknowledge and embrace mental health as illness, then we will be shadowboxing. Because if you want to have the most audience in Kenya, you will go to the churches or a political rally. Yeah. And that's not something to be addressed on the political rallies. So the church is also a very key, space to address it and to let people become aware of it, and also find ways of addressing it. Again, there is also the fear of, like, us living here in Europe, we are not able to relate or to share with our people back home because we are not on the same page. We feel that they will not understand what we are going through, and rightfully so. So also now creating our own circle, like we said here, where we are living, sharing our issues with people that are going through the same systematic issues, immigration issues, family dynamics, it would help. And also, we posed a question like, how do we establish or create a safe space, maybe anonymous space, online platform, where people can come and say, hey, I'm XXX and I'm suffering from this and this, and I feel this and this today, without necessarily, people knowing who you are, your real identity. For those of us who probably might fear being, stigmatized or, be singled out, like you're going through this and that. And also there's an issue of drug and substance abuse. And we agreed in our platform, maybe that is something also we need to address in this platform, maybe in the coming days. We can organize something on drug and substance abuse, because like Christmas time now, it's time for loneliness for most people in Europe, which is different from back home. So it's easy to just go back to your corner with your bottle, with your substance, and console yourself, okay? So that also, and of course the results are mental illness. There is nothing good that will come out of it. So I think those are the key issues that we have addressed. If I've left something else, maybe my team can chip in. Thank you.
Team. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we are recording this, because that is something we should share with the task force of this group, so that they can think about that in the next. We're going to be doing this quarterly, so that is something that the task force can pick up on. Thank you so much, and especially how creating anonymous space. President, I agree that is something also to think about for President of Kifua, Lois, and other chairs from Sweden. That is something to think of our societies in our Stella in Netherlands. I don't know whether Madam Sabina is still around. Is Madam Sabina still around?
Yes, Dorothy. You can hear me?
Yes, please don't go away, because I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you time to greet us. Don't go, run away. I'm so proud of your support from Netherlands. Really, really feeling very glad about that. But these tips, and I'm glad my embassy is here. These are tips even maybe which should go to our embassies, presidents of the associations. Thank you so much for your contributions. Powerful, powerful. The next group.
Maybe I'll go next, because we realized that we hadn't chosen somebody to take notes. So I'll just go next. Stigma in the society was the first question. It is real, especially back home. We talked about madare, which sounds like an insult, or when people get mentally ill, we think they've been bewitched, which is not true. And number two, what can we do about the stigma? we can unlearn what we thought we knew and learn the real things, learn the facts about our mental health. And also, you know, go to the root cause. Why is somebody suffering from this thing? Is it because of chemical imbalance? Is it because of where is it coming from, substance abuse, etc. And then also to check our cycles and demystify. One of the gentlemen in our group said when they were from where they lived, when they were going to Nairobi, they would pass in front of Mathare Institute, Mathare Hospital, but oh, you don't even want to look there because you're like, oh, that's like a prison. But then one day when the elderly auntie got dementia, which comes with age, yeah, she had to go and consult. And the young generation understands that dementia is not witchcraft. You know, it is something that happens in life. That's part of life sometimes. And then comparing. Yeah, and also we can also get a good support system. Maybe classmates that you used to go to school with when you are young, people you're still in touch with. Yeah, keep in touch with these people. And that's where you get your support from family as well. And then the difference between Christmas here and back home. Home, it is a community celebration, Christmas. Over here, people are very individualistic. And also at home, it depends on your socioeconomic status. If you have the money, yeah, you're going to have fun. You know, children, that's when they go to shags. That's when you play with your cousins. Your parents are not severe. They won't punish you for small things. Yeah, but over here, you find yourself alone. And also we mentioned Christmas back home might be very demanding for women because the women have to do the cooking, the cleaning, the babysitting, everything. The men are just chilling. They just kill a goat or a cow and then that's it. Yeah, so there's that difference. I don't know whether my group would like to add something I might have left out.
So from my group, we obviously discovered that stigma is something that isolates people. Since you feel stigmatized, you don't want to associate with the rest of the group. You might be maybe a Kenyan living in Europe, and you feel you're not economically endowed or empowered as compared to the rest of Kenyans. So you just decide to live a life of seclusion. Yeah, so that is one type of stigma. Then another type of stigma is you might be living in a village, yeah, maybe in the middle of nowhere where you're the minority, obviously, considering the countries that we live in. It's a tiny village. You're the only Black person. People don't understand you. People don't want to know about your beliefs, maybe. So they stigmatize you. You feel stigmatized. So the solution to that is that we need to educate such people. Such people, we came to discover that they are people who are not well-traveled, people who maybe just hear or watch negative things about Africa. Yeah, in fact, there's a member of ours who lives in Finland who said that when she emigrated to Finland, people were feeling so sorry for her because they thought that people who come from Africa, Kenyan in particular, don't even wear shoes. So it was a horrible experience. So they were just telling her that we know you've got a problem with putting on shoes. So until this lady took it upon herself to educate such people and showed them maybe films or documentaries about Kenya, and they became much more enlightened about Kenya as compared to this Kenyan lady. So we need to educate such people so that they may better understand the places that we come from. Then apart from that, we also talked about stigma, stopping people from what can cause stigma is education. Lack of education can also cause stigma, and we just need to accept ourselves the way we are. Then there's also the issue of diminishing our values. We should not diminish our values, but just accept ourselves the way we are, so that we might be better placed to educate other people about our own values. Then the last point was Christmas compared to back home, is that Christmas is a big feast where, as most of you have said, friends and family come together, and you have a big feast, big party. Yeah. So the problem here is, of course, of loneliness. You feel so lonely and alone. And what makes it even worse in these westernized countries is that winter can be so brutal. In other countries where it's dark,
You're breaking off. Is it me or?
Yeah, he is broken off.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. I think he's dropped off. So let's wait for him to come back. But what powerful sharing. Huh? This guy brought up something that we haven't dealt with here when we are talking about stigma. I will tell you this categorically, because I got married to a Dutch person. When the guy comes back, tell me, because I think we need, come back, go on, Fanwell. Sorry.
I'm very sorry about that. I thought that maybe the problem wasn't on my side, but I think the problem was on my side. So I'm very sorry about that. Anyway, I was just winding up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just winding up by saying that winter in Europe can be very dark, can be very gloomy. My first winter, I even shared my first winter where I thought that in this country, where I thought that maybe I just wanted to have a feel of how people celebrate Christmas in this country. So when I went out after the Christmas dinner, it was around 4 in the afternoon. So it was very dark.
One moment. Jennifer, tell Jennifer not to drop off. We'd really like to say goodbye to her in a good way. Please tell her, get in touch with her. She's dropped off. She has to go. Kenya now is very late. Go on, Fanuel. Go on, Fanuel.
Yeah, I even shared my very first Christmas in this country. After the Christmas dinner at around 4 in the afternoon, I just decided to go out and just have a feel of how people celebrate Christmas in this country. And I was very much surprised to find nobody outside. All the shops were closed. It was dark. It was gloomy. It was, I almost felt homesick, even though I had my in-laws who were living with my in-laws at the time. And it was a very lonely place, despite having people around. And up to this day, I know of Kenyans who would not want to celebrate Christmas in this country. They're always going home for Christmas to celebrate with family. Yeah, so that's it from my group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any other group I think we have how many more groups? One group, because we want to finalize now. People are dropping off, but we want to finish together.
Yeah, I can go next.
Yes, please.
I don't know whether this is the last group or there is another one remaining. So we have discussed stigma, and we have found out it is a real issue, basically because of how maybe the African community has been looking at this mental health, depression, or stress. As one of the speakers said, it has got a very bad name, and we don't want to come out and be labeled with one of those names. And also one point that was raised, even here in the Europe, people may be afraid to come out and talk about their mental health or depression, because once you come out and say, maybe show these kind of signs, your entire family may start to be monitored. Your kids will be monitored. Are they safe? And for parents, they may be afraid that the kids may be taken away. So stigma is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what can we do to change the mindset is just come out or expose that, as in talk, attend forums like the ones that we attend at the moment, and you realize that you are not the only person. There are people who are suffering, or you are in the same boat with them. And yeah, you come out, you speak, and others will join you. And maybe coming out speaking, more people can come out and have the problem getting solved and discussed. We also discussed about Christmas, and we said, yeah, for a good number of people in my group who are quite new, they have never celebrated Christmas in Europe, but we got a very good advice that though it can be lonely when you are starting, you can find like-minded friends, come together, and later on down the line, you can form these groups whereby you can always come together during the Christmas and try to celebrate Christmas here in Europe, just the way it can be celebrated back home in Kenya. We also saw that yeah, it can be a little bit financial draining because you are expected to buy gifts, the Christmas tree, things like that. Back home, you just come together and you can get your kuku or your buzi and celebrate without maybe emptying your pocket. That's what we discussed. And if I missed anything, maybe those people who are in the same group can chip in and say whatever I might have missed.
Fantastic. So we finalize now. As I still have to give, please allow me, the person representing our embassy in the Netherlands is such a big support for me and Stella. And we would like to ask Sabina if she has a comment to give. But before Sabina says, I really want to highlight on what our Fanuel talked about. What we didn't talk about, but maybe we can deal with next time, is that even here in Europe, we are in classes. There are those who are married to the Europeans like me, we are looked at as different class. There are those who are married to Africans, they're looked at as different class. There are those who have immigration issues, they're looked at different class. So the people who are more afraid of stigmatization are people maybe who have immigration issues. When you have immigration issues, you already have a mental health issue. Really, let me tell you the truth. Because you're so uncertain. You don't want to go back home. You don't know whether you will be granted the papers. So you have more mental issues. And those are the people we need to reach out. And I think in our next discussion, we should really discuss in this issue of stigma, let's also look at it that way, that there is more people who are more afraid of the stigma are the people who are more vulnerable for the mental health issues. Women who are divorced, you know, people who are aging, Africans who are aging in this society, you know, they're the people who are afraid of stigma if they have mental health issues, and yet they're the already vulnerable society, and already most of them have one or another mental health issue that they need to understand themselves and be able to manage. Because if you don't have papers, then also even your income is an issue, because you can't get a good job, you know? So it is so layered, and that is our most vulnerable. So as I was saying, we take care of each other, like the Asians, like the Jews. We need to start thinking of these demographics in our society, even as KDLFE, even as leaders of our societies. And that was brought up very well by Fanuel, and I really want to thank Fanuel that he talked about that the issue of some people come, they feel they don't have education, some people have PhDs, you know, and I saw that even here in Netherlands, there are people who really felt that we were divided in classes in our society, even when we came together, and I was shocked. But I think it's a reality, and we need to break that. So may I invite, please allow me to invite Sabina to just give her a moment to talk to us, and then I will give back to Moses, my co-host, for conclusion and vote of thanks, and prayer will come with Lois, Madam Lois. Okay, Madam Sabina, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy and Stella, for the invite. I feel honored to be part of this group. And I would say, even at personal level, I have learned a lot. And really what we have spoken here is what happens in the day-to-day life. So it's really a good time that we were able to learn much. So maybe just to talk a bit about myself, just a bit. in my undergraduate, I did social work. Then from there, I got employed with the immigration department. Then afterwards, I did my master's in diplomacy. That's how I'm at the embassy. So at times when I get the cases of the Kenyans who
We lost you, Sabina, Madam Sabina. Madam Sabina? I don't know what happened.
Let me check. Sabina?
Oh, maybe a telephone came. If she's using a telephone came.
Oh, she's saying it. It was her daughter calling her. I think she's
switches
Sabina.
off.
Yeah. Let me ask her.
Yes, in our churches, John Mungai is saying we need this education in our churches. We need to start in our churches here, and then I don't know how we are going to get home. Home, they will just tell you, let's pray for deliverance.
Dorothy, just to add on that, because I think because majority of us are either Christian or Muslim, like from where we come from. I'm the chairman of our I'm the chairman of our PCA parish, and I think this is my first time in this forum, and I've really liked what we are discussing here, because some of the issues we are dealing here with definitely an education that we need in our churches as well. Because as soon as you show any sign of mental health in the churches and they're praying for you and nothing is happening, most likely they're going to chase you out of the church. So, but sometimes it's lack of education, I think. And I think this is education we really need it in our churches, because when someone is going through a mental health, they don't need to be victimized. They don't need to be subjected to ill treatment. They need help. And I think most of the time they don't get that help even in our churches, and it's so sad. But I think now that you've started this forum, I think we would like to invite you in our churches to come and talk to us and educate us.
Yeah.
Please take my number.
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
Okay.
good one about incorporating churches. But like I can give an example of Netherlands. Caroline Pauw, Dorothy, you know Caroline Pauw as well. She's now in Istanbul, so with time difference, she's no longer in the conversation. But we had started this initiative about creating the awareness. Only when we started, it was, I think, before Corona. That's what happened. But it was only women. But we both had the feeling we need to start incorporating men in these conversations, because it was really like just opening up, like everyone has a moment to share their story, if they're willing, because the more people share, the more we open up, all of us. With churches, we can be a bit limited. I personally am a public speaker when it comes to mental health, but going to church to talk about it, way.
No, but what I want to say about the church is
I
that
will invite you to our church. I will speak to the leadership, and you can have a platform there as well.
Okay.
I'm sure they would love
yeah,
that.
John, the fact that you're saying that and you have a position you have a leadership position in the church, it's already a breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's already a breakthrough. The fact that you can see that and you have the influence to have it happen because you're in leadership, it's already a breakthrough. And if you look in Kenya, in everywhere, there are many of us who would be very much willing to come and speak. And especially you can get Christian people who can come and speak with Christian language, with Christian materials. There's even Christian materials to talk about mental health with the scriptures, so that we are not talking just from anywhere, So there is hope because you're here.
Yes.
I don't know whether Miss Sabina is ready to finish, and then we go. Okay.
Dorothy, you can hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry, I'm using my son's laptop, and he says he doesn't understand how it's connecting to his phone. It's like someone tries to send a message or someone calls, it mutes me. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
but it's okay. I'll be very brief because I know all of us have had a long day. This has been a very interesting meeting since we started up to now. And I'm wondering, people are not getting tired. It's becoming more interesting. So in short, I would say it's, I think we need, Dorothy and Stella, we need more of these meetings, and maybe prior arrangements and prior letting people know that there's something like this so that people come in big numbers. I was just talking about the embassy, the immigration attaché at the embassy. And when I got my posting, in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to do immigration work. But when I landed, I realized that there was more on my desk than just issuing passports, issuing visas, issuing birth certificates, and the other Kenyan documents to our diaspora here. I realized there are so many Kenyans here in distress. And before my colleagues left, I'm not going to mention names, they just told me, please kindly look for a lady called Stella, and she's going to help you in some cases. They didn't even tell me much. But as time went on, I realized that there are Kenyans who would call, a lady would call, they would say, my husband has beaten me up. We also had cases of Kenyans collapsing at the airport. Someone dies at the airport. Some are dying in the hospital, in the camp. So it's like all this comes to my desk. And I would say Stella has been very helpful to me because as all of us know here, everything here is in Dutch. So if you translate it, you may not really understand, because I thought it would be, if it would be in English, maybe I'll be able to understand the law, just the way in Kenya we understand our law. But here things are hard. The law is just tough. But I'm so glad that Stella has done Dutch. She understands the law. She understands. Even I see her in the KDAN forum. When people ask something, she's always very quick to say, yeah, please go to this link, get this, get that. And I think that is what we need. And at the bottom of it all, here we are talking about mental health. And I think even what we are doing here is about handling our mental health. How are we? Knowing ourselves. Where are we lacking? Where are we having trouble? How do we come out in such situations? I remember when we were sharing in our group, I just told my group members, immediately I reported here 2 months after I lost my mom. It was just 27th December 2020. And my Christmas so 2021, Stella invited me to a place. 2022, I remember, Dorothy, you were telling us, you guys, let's go to Belgium. It never happened. I went to Switzerland. So it's like, I think after I lost my mom that time, Christmas has never been the same.
Yeah.
But I believe with time, me and my children, we are going to come out of it. And it's life, and that's how it should be. But basically, I would say, I think there's more life in Kenya in terms of Christmas time. And at the same time, it's also good to understand that it depends also on how you look at it. There's those of us who prefer it at home, those of us who prefer it here. And where you call home, for example, or where your heart is, in conclusion of what we have just learned, is that where your heart is and how you feel is where your Christmas is going to be. And I think that's how it is. So this is just the beginning, Dorothy and Stella and the rest. I am just glad to be here. Let me not speak much. I know I've spoken a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usiku mwema, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope to meet soon again in another forum like this. Asanteni.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. To mention again, we have a task force. It's made up of different European countries, the chairs of different European countries in KDLFE, and we're going to be having this quarterly. There's a task force working on it. And now I'll give the floor to Moses as we conclude.
Thank you, Dorothy. I hope everybody can hear me though.
Yes.
I had a problem with my microphone. Thank you. Well, I guess the plane has taken off. This session was supposed to take 2 hours, but we are 3 hours in and everybody is here, and that says a lot. It says that this is something that is needed and it's here and it's up to us to make it happen. I'm looking at what all the our guest speakers are talking about, and I think the most important thing at the end of it all is it's okay not to be okay, because more often than not, you go around pretending that you're okay. You know, the facade outside, I'm 100% okay, but inside, you cannot lie to yourself. You know? People, like one artist said, they can see you smile, but they will not understand what's going on inside your head. So it's okay to speak about it. And we need communities to do that. That's why we are blessed enough at this time to know that we have an association like KDLFE that joins all the Kenyans in Europe and help us to deal with these problems. And you understand that you're not by yourself. I'm not going to take a lot of time since we've already taken your time, and thank you so much that all of you could make it to this session, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you so much to Stella, Eunice, and unfortunately, Jennifer Dante had to leave us, but thank you to her too, a lot of information, and we cannot miss the humorous speech that we got from, from the one and only Mr. Bitange. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and leave it to Lois to give a vote of thanks and close it with prayer. Thank you so much for your time, everybody, and thank you so much for your contributions. And I'm sure unanimously, all of us have gone through one, not even, or most of the things that are mentioned in one way or another. We've experienced that, the loneliness, the culture shock, the semi-some money, it's Christmas. How do I deal with that? And you feel sorry and you cannot avoid it. So talk to someone, let's talk. Let's not sit isolated and not think it's not okay to talk about it. The more we talk, the easier it gets, especially sisi wanaume. Ndio tunakaanga ngumu kila wakati. Saa zingine ni sawa kuachilia. It's okay. So thank you so much. Have a good evening and God bless you all. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni sana. Yani, you've stayed with us for 3 hours on a Friday night in Europe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience, for your just, resilience, for having been there. In absentia, I want to thank really Professor Bitange for what he told us. Our two ladies, Lady Jennifer, Lady Eunice, for what they have taught us. Thank you so much, Esther, for having started it off well. Thank you, Sana, the moderators and the hosts, Moses, Anthony, Dorothy, and also Miss Sabrina for representing the diplomats, the embassies. Shukran kila mtu. Thank you, God, as well. So we shall just end with a word of prayer. Let's pray, please. Our Father in heaven, we come before you this evening with thanksgiving in our hearts, oh God. Thank you for this session that you provided for us, that you gave us, oh God. Thank you for the speakers that you got for us, oh God. Thank you for this topic that we talked about, oh Lord. And even thank you for the ladies and gentlemen that were present, Jesus. And thank you for everything we've learned. Even though every mental health is not very new to us, especially in Europe, but everybody has learned something. And we thank you so much for that. Thank you because you love us in our you love us in all ways. You love our spirits, you love our bodies, you love our mental health, you love everything. Thank you for having brought us in Europe, oh God, and thank you for the opportunities even to improve our lives and those of the people around us, oh God. So we pray that what we've learned today, we shall remember it, and if we need to do things practically to do them, like Professor told us, if it is sports, if it is sleeping, if it is checking on each other, Lord, everything we've learned and even much more, continue helping us so that we can live a good life here in Europe, oh God, so that it cannot be hard and torturous, and we wish we were back home, Lord. Help us prosper in this country where you brought us, oh God. Thank you for this KDLFE leadership, all these tasks task forces. May you continue using us to help our Kenyan diaspora here in Europe and even in the world. Thank you for everything. And we commit the night into your hands. Bless us this weekend, bless us this month, even during the holiday season. May we not get depressed. May we not get mentally unwell. On the contrary, may we, put everything into practice and be with us. And thank you for the blessed new year that you're about to give unto us. We pray all this in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Dorothy,
You are muted.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was saying thank you so much, all 30 of you, for staying to the end. Thank you for the chairs, for President Agre, for Chair Moses, for Chair Lois. We know you guys who are called, Anthony. We know you guys who are called, Sabina. You are not just, especially our communities, you are not being paid. It's a calling. And to see you here, it really gives us hope where we are going to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Stella. You know it. Thank you.
Asante, thank you so much.
You can leave at your own pleasure.
All right.
I will leave the screen on.
Okay.
And if you can show your face, if you have not showed your face, and say goodbye, we'll be happy to see your face as you go away. You've been with us for 3 hours. See, Tony.
Goodbye.
Harry, Tony.
Bye, Tony.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Good night. Thank you,
Bye,
ladies
everyone.
and
Bye.
gentlemen, for everything. It was a nice topic.
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
night.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, bye.
Merry Christmas.